Welcome, everyone, to the 8th Wednesday Altered Weekly Online League. I keep trying to move this cat, but it just keeps coming back, so it's just going to be here. I'm very happy to be joined this week by Tom, the creator and manager, and whatever title you want to give him, he deserves, of 39 cards. A great resource for all of the altered competitive players. How are you doing tonight, Tom?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm doing great. Super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We've been trying to get together for commentary for a few weeks now, so I'm glad it finally happened.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty excited to do this, and yeah, I was looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, as everyone knows, I only do commentary every other week for my mental health. But I did look at last week's Wednesday event, and it was an interesting one. So I'm seeing that in the top four, we had a Treyst, an Afanis, a Treyst, and a Lindaway. So looks like Axiom and Izmir are really coming up on top recently, at least for the Wednesday events. What do you think about this, Tom?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think last week was the first week for us that didn't have the Robin Hood. Well, with the new Robin Hood version.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, maybe it was the second week. But it still felt like people were adjusting to the new meta, and even looking at the 4-2 list, it's really all over the place, and it's very interesting, like very diverse.
Yeah, yeah. I do think it was the first week with the after the Robin Hood changes. Someone can correct us in chat if we're wrong. But yeah, even looking at the top 16 or top 20, whatever you want to look at, it's definitely a lot more spread out than it has been in the past. There's a Kojo list at 12th. There's a couple Teija lists at 10th and 11th, and those are lists that have done relatively okay recently. I know people have been talking about Traced is the new deck to kind of beat. It's the deck that everyone's kind of going towards now. Do you think there's merit to that comment?
Well, yeah, in part, in part I do, and I think you mentioned that you didn't look at the results from Monday, but if you do, you will see that that fear is somewhat materialized. There were, if I look at the 5-1 list, the top 9, there were 6 traced lists in there, which is huge. But in between, the rest is still pretty diverse. So it seems like you can still play a lot of different things in the metagame. It's just that, yeah, Trace seems to be a cut above the rest. It might also be that people haven't yet completely adjusted to it, and so it will be surely interesting to see what happens tonight.
Yeah, for sure. What are we kind of expecting tonight? Are we expecting people to still be adjusting to the Robin Hood change, or what are we hoping to see?
I think at this point, I'm hoping people have figured out that Traced is the thing to beat and are trying to beat it.
Yeah.
And I will sure be interested to see what kind of strategy they come up with.
Yeah, I agree. Trace was always kind of sharing the number 2 spot since the game came out, and I think people just spent so much time trying to deal with Waru and Robin Hood that now they're having to shift focus and adapt for Trace being arguably number 1. So I'm excited to see what they bring. I joked on the Discord, I was like, somebody bring Atsadi, but I don't think anyone will. But it would be nice if a hero from each faction reached the top 8. It happens sometimes, but let's hope it's one of those nights.
I'm not sure about Atsadi, but I see that Freeloader has been playing Kojo recently, and
Yeah.
he did pretty well on Monday. I think he's been doing pretty well with it fairly consistently.
Yes.
I don't know if he's playing tonight, but he's for sure has been representing the Bravos faction.
So let's go ahead and pull up the other scene. Looks like it hasn't started quite yet, but I'd rather be ready than late.
Maybe one last mention while before
sure.
we jump into the game. It's interesting to see on Mondays there were 2 600 records because of so many people playing from Europe. And the other one is a Teija list, and I think that's definitely one thing to be looking out for.
Yeah.
Especially like now, people have figured out that the anchoring unique for Teija is super strong.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I think this deck is a real menace as well. It's just like a lot harder to assemble than the Treyst one.
Yeah. For sure. There's definitely been events where like it's been up there too. We've definitely seen some lists from players that like go really crazy for Teija and Rin sometimes as well, but I think there's definitely a lot of like field to play currently compared to the first month of the game. So just excited to see like what everybody's bringing, and just the diversity is really nice to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome everyone to the 8th weekly Altered Online League, the Wednesday event. I said that in like the wrong order, but it's fine. For the final match this week, we've got a Teija versus a Treyst. What do we think about this matchup?
Yeah, so two of the most popular heroes for sure right now. I don't know who I like best in this. I think I probably like Treyst, but we'll see. We just saw one Teija defeat them, I think so.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
the two heroes really play on completely different axis, right? Like Treyst
Oh,
is
absolutely, yeah.
value.
Yeah, Teja be more of an aggressive deck, one would say, or like they try to play to the board quickly. At least in most builds. Treyst being a bit more combo, where they have a lot of setup, but once they get their 5 scrap counters, they're really hard to stop.
Yeah. Yep. And hearing from chat that the Teija apparently has no uniques.
That's pretty cool for a Teja, because my theory was that Teja was only good at the top because of the busted uniques. And yeah, Toki are really proving me wrong here. And I'm glad they are. I'm a Muna fanboy,
Yeah.
to be clear. If
So many
anyone
Muna
wasn't aware of
fanboys.
that already. I think like a lot of people, like Muna is kind of
Yeah.
my faction of heart, but ironically the one I have probably played the least, just because I have a hard time finding how to make it work.
It is a well-loved faction. Looks like we got an advance for both players.
Yeah, trading here, and again, Treyst playing the Salvager into for no reason except to have a card in reserve.
Yep.
And you see again, like same, I think same start as we at the first game we commented. And I'm gonna have the same comment here. I think that's one of the best start for Treyst. I'm really not surprised that they kept those cards in their opening hand.
Yeah, now that I know I was skeptical the first game, but now that I've seen it once, I have to agree. It just speeds you up so much.
Because with the Ada, you're going to see 2 more cards for chances to get a 1 cost that will keep the scrap train going. So yeah, it's a really pretty good start. On the Teja side, though, interesting. The Munadrid was definitely not one of the best early plays, in my opinion. Pretty interested to see how they're followed up.
So found your mechanic.
Yeah, they could be playing a Haven this turn and the Salvager after that. Be set up with 2 cards in reserve. That would be really like probably the best possible start for Treyst. Let's see how Teja decides to respond here.
A lot of thinking, understandable. This late in the event.
Yeah, that's really for the marbles, as they say.
Yeah.
Do you know what time it is in Japan right now? I'm like, I don't think I've seen many Japanese player in those tournaments.
It's like around. If somebody in chat can confirm, I think it's around like 8:30 or 9:30. So morning. Yeah, it's AM. It's morning.
That would make sense.
Maybe they're playing at work. Respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Look like
Or, or before work, yeah.
we got that first play Tiny Jin that we're a little bit of a fan of.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, still like it here. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for Treyst to contest it here because they are still on the starting biome, which has all three options. But they will have to commit 2 things because Salvager is not enough.
Yeah, and Foundry Mechanic also not enough. Let's see this.
No,
unique.
it's not enough. Yeah, because they because it overlaps on the wrong biomes. What does Skelon Elemental do? So arrow, you put a card from reserve, and if you do, you don't do anything more. And you when you play a permanent with cost 3 or more, which in Treyst I don't think that's really gonna happen. You can sacrifice a permanent to gain 1 boost for each landmark, so it's pretty bad. So yeah, it's essentially like I don't even actually know why they're playing this, because it costs 3 from hand as well. It has very marginally better stats. I don't know. I don't really understand that unique, if I'm being completely honest.
Do you think they're playing like Foundry? I haven't really seen Treyst play Foundry. Is Foundry 3?
Well, that seems pretty anti-synergistic with your hero, but
yeah,
we'll see.
It could also be. I've made this argument before, especially for people who are like casually competitive. They might just put the uniques they got in the deck just because they're gold and shiny. So it could just be like that situation, maybe. But because Foundry's the only thing I can think of that like you would even remotely want to play.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't even work. You're never going to want to sacrifice it to gain 1 boost, and you wouldn't even get a boost, right? Because like you don't have the landmark anymore.
Yeah.
Like that card just straight up doesn't work in set 1. I think it's a kind of a. Hopefully it's a plan for set 2, but I don't know. I mean, you can play it as if it didn't have the second ability, and like I guess the first ability is not the worst because it's a may instead of a you have to. So in some late game situation, it's marginally better. So that's maybe the reason.
Aloe Vera, First Haven.
Okay, so First Haven is out. First Aloe Vera is out as well. Treyst could still have Kelon Burst here, but doesn't look like it. And also, it would be the whole turn. Okay. So they would still advance on the companion side because they have 1 more in forest.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and they're definitely going to crush the hero side with this Izmir Stargazer.
Yeah.
So yeah, Treyst kind of doing what it wants, 2 and 1. Yeah, so it was even so far, but now Treyst is pulling ahead, and more importantly, I was alluding to earlier in this intro, in the intro of this video, they have set up the 5 counters now.
Yeah.
Meaning that they can, every turn they can draw a card and put a card from their hand in reserve. You would think that putting a card in your hand from reserve is a downside, but in this deck it's actually a pretty big upside for 2 reasons. The first one is that you have a lot of effects that trigger from reserve, or characters that cost less mana from reserve. But also you have the infamous Haven, which boosts your characters when they are playing in reserve. So it's very often that you don't want to play actively your card from hand.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's also like people need to think of it like it's sort of a tempo play, because sometimes waiting a whole day to get the reserve effect is like not what you want to do. You might want the reserve effect now, and Treyst just gives it to you, even if you're technically only using half the card.
But you're using the right half, because most of the characters from Treyst have reserve ability and no from hand ability.
Yeah. I will say I'm a little confused, because maybe I missed it, maybe I blacked out for a second, but did they use Treyst like at the end of the day and put a card in reserve and then
discard it? Yeah. Okay. So why would you not want to do this is my question to you. Because I've played Treyst a bunch, and I have some people who argued with me that you shouldn't do that. But I think it's wrong, because you're just seeing another card, right? So essentially you draw a card and you discard a card from your hand?
Yeah.
You always want to do that, right?
Yeah.
You just have card selection.
I can see that. I guess like yeah, okay, no. I can see that. It's worth the risk. I guess that to me there's like
There is no
inherent.
risk. If you have the best card in your hand, you're still going to have it in your hand at the end of the day, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess like my argument would be, no, I guess you keep 2 cards in a reserve. No, you're right. You should do
So
it every time.
yeah, so first of all, like you're keeping 2 cards in reserve, but even if you have the best card in your deck on top of your deck, you don't know that, right?
Yeah,
It might as well be the worst card in your deck. So
yeah.
I think you should always take the chance. You just have more options, basically. Okay, so sorry, we were chatting, but Teija quietly came back.
Yep. The daughter of
With this daughter of
Yggdrasil,
Yggdrasil.
they are tied
Okay,
up.
so that's pretty interesting. And they're playing first, so they might be able to replay the daughter of Yggdrasil, which is pretty important
Yeah,
because obviously that card is much better from reserve. Well, the rare one, I guess, is debatable. Teija was maybe more interested in drawing than Treyst was, but it is for sure very strong from reserve, just because it has this huge body. Yeah,
Kodama
and
going
Teija
to
has the aloe
reserve.
vera setup. Unfortunately, not the right biome to advance, but the right biome to block, which is pretty good. So yeah, let's see how that plays out.
And putting the Kodama in reserve is much better than drawing it to your hand. At
Yeah,
this
also
point.
it's going to be removed anyway, but
Yeah,
you're
removed.
forcing sort of your opponent to play the Tinkerbell here. And you're okay, so that's I don't like that too much, but I guess like it prevents you from getting hooked. The problem is like there's a good chance Treyst can still put more stats.
Yeah.
Don't think there's much of a chance for them to 2-0 though, which you would be happy about. Okay, I guess Frankenstein is maybe a way to 2-0, but they're playing it on the hero side. That's interesting. I would have played that on the companion side, I think. Yeah, because now, well, I guess yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
they're
Depends what they have in it.
yeah, winning on the hero side. They just put Amelia in reserve, but that isn't going to block the aloe vera.
By itself, no, but with the Frankenstein, it would have.
Yeah.
But so it would have blocked the aloe vera. They just wouldn't have advanced. And then the Amelia would have won the other side.
Yeah.
So I think I liked play. So my reasoning here is that Frankenstein is like overkill.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Tokia has 1 card in hand.
I don't.
Maybe they're hedging against like I don't know.
They didn't like the Amelia was from the Frankenstein ability, so.
Yeah, they didn't know it was.
Yeah, they didn't know.
But they should play towards like that kind of card, I think.
Yeah. Also, Blue mentioning that you're gonna have to put Etsadi on 39 cards.
Okay. Pretty happy with that actually.
I'm
Congrats,
happy.
Blue.
Okay. Jin.
Okay. So maybe that works out for them. I don't know. Because if they had played the Jin on the other side, then Frankenstein would have been not that great.
They could just
go
1-1. Because the
so how do they do that?
Amelia would
okay,
block,
they're going
right?
to go over the top of of the hero side. Yeah, it's probably that's the most likely scenario, right, that they trade. Don't know who I prefer after a trade here. I think I still like Treyst because of their active ability, but only one haven't.
And Teija has no cards now. They still have 3.
Well, they have the aloe vera and the Jin in reserve. Also, they're going to play second, which means that.
I guess I meant no hidden cards.
Right. Well, yeah. They're going to draw 2. The Jin would have been the Jin is really bad on this day though, because it's not blocking Treyst at all. That's pretty rough. Also, the aloe vera is very good though, because it's not that good because it's not advancing. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it feels like Teija has like the defenses set up, but at least from what we can see, not the numbers to like utilize.
Yeah, the problem is it's just not gonna be big enough against Treyst. I don't think. I mean, we'll see how that shapes up. Oh, and another Frankenstein farm from Treyst. That's probably one of your best cards at this point in the game. Oh, and
Yeah.
Another Haven. Yeah, Frankenstein is just so good here because it replaces itself, plus it's a big body for very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also interesting from Teija, they kept both cards in hand, but they would have been pretty vulnerable from a sabotage. I don't know how many Tinkerbells are left. Looks like 2, so. Yeah, see, the problem is like Treyst is trading too profitably here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is like the move, but Armorer makes 4/4/4 total, and like they just have a lot.
Well, it would be a 6, but
yeah,
I think I like trying
it
to.
would be 6.
Yeah, I would play the Salvager first for sure, because if you find another 1 cast, like now you have the same thing for 2 mana. Okay, they're going to go for the.
Yeah, actually.
Oh, and probably put the token on the other side. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's smart. Yeah, it's very smart. Because now even Jin isn't enough, and yeah, not sure what.
3 mana. What could they?
They could have some removal, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Even if they remove the Frankenstein here, the Salvager is is for sure enough to go over. So yeah, no, I can't really think of anything that saves them here.
Yeah, you're right. Even if they remove the Frankenstein, they still are winning in Forest anyway. By 1, right?
Yeah.
4-3. So.
Yeah, I mean, depending on they're blocking 4/7 on Mountain, and then they have 6 to advance on Water, and they have 7 on Forest. Yeah.
Good job on the 4/2 Doombringer. Happy to hear it.
Yeah, what were you playing, Doombringer? Okay, not sure what's going on Tokia's side that he has to think for so long.
I think it might have.
Maybe he just went to make a tea or something.
I think it was loading actually.
Okay, so aloe vera.
There we go.
Yeah, not really doing it.
Oh yeah, Doombringer. Okay, still on Sierra. I've played against his Sierra a bunch on stream. They played against 5 Treyst.
Yeah, Treyst very popular, but I mean probably objectively the best deck in a vacuum.
Yeah. All right.
But it's good that you did 4-2 against them. It means that your matchup should be looking pretty solid.
And there we go. We got a Treyst. That was the 8th weekly Altered Online League, the Wednesday event. We saw some good matches, a lot of Treyst, a decent amount of Teija and Sigismar. What did we think of the event overall, Tom?
Yeah, this was pretty fun to watch. Lots of Treyst out there to be expected, but also a lot of other people competing on their favorite decks. I think we saw pretty good matches. I got to see some of the Acacia hard control decks, which I hadn't really seen in action yet. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff all around. A lot of Nevenka decks also. I was surprised by this, but
Yes.
in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, decent number of Navanka decks. At least from what we saw, we are watching like random games most of the time, but low number of Waru from what we saw. A little bit to be expected, but I hope people don't give up on it completely. I think it could still be good, just needs a little bit more tweaking after the Robin Hood errata. But so the final match we saw, oh my god, my memory. Teija versus Treyst. Like, eh, we talked about our memory failing us at the end there, and now it's really failing me. What did we think of that final match and kind of like how it played out?
Yeah, I think it kind of played out as we expected, where Teija was able to compete up until the very end. So a very close game, but once Treyst is active and as it's too even out, it's really hard for Teija to compete with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, still pretty close game. I think like it could have gone anyway, either way, like depending on the draws. For sure, like if Treyst doesn't find their Haven, like it's a different game. Um, so yeah, it was still pretty interesting to watch. Even though like yeah, I think I kind of expected Treyst to take it on and to take the lead there, and that's kind of what happened.
yeah. I think like first half of the game it was relatively even, but at this point in the game, like everyone kind of knows, and it just makes sense, like logically. The more cards you can see, the more options you have, the more avenues to victory you're gonna have compared to your opponent if they're only seeing like a couple cards, 2 or 3 cards every day. We did see what you have called probably one of the best traced like day one
Yeah,
plays.
for sure. Yeah, it's one also of the super key moments in Treyst is like the early game, like the first 2 days. Are you able to develop correctly? And that was the case here. And so that's one of the ways that like Treyst can, I think, lose is that they fail to find like all the good cards that give them early scrap counters. But that was not the case here. Like they had a really good start with Axiom Salvager into Ada Lovelace, which I think like two of the best early plays that the deck can make.
Yeah. So I'm thinking back to the match right now, and I honestly can't really think of one, but do you think there was like a singular moment that the Tasia player could have done something different to change the outcome? Because sometimes in matches there will be like a key moment or two where just sequencing doesn't like line up well, but I honestly like I can't really think of one in that match, and it really feels like
Yeah, it's hard to tell. There was no point in the game where like I thought like someone played a really weird play, or
yeah,
made a really weird play. Um, it was very unfortunate that the way the biomes ended up on the last day was very super disadvantageous to the Teja player.
yeah,
They had two tiny gens, and their opponent was on forest, ocean, and ocean.
yeah,
So they had no way to block them.
yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, they also played two Spindle, which at the time kind of made sense because they wanted to protect from a hooked that was face up in reserve. But I keep wondering if they like. I have to wonder if they pick another card and mana the other Spindle. Like, does it change the game?
yeah,
Are they able to have more resources at the end? Hard to say. We are not able to see their hand anyway
yeah,
in replays. So yeah, hard to say. But for sure, I think the biomes on the last day is the one thing that could have sort of like randomly played differently and
yeah,
ended up being a big disadvantage to the Teja player.
yeah, for sure. And like it could have they both like were playing well. Obviously, they made it to the
Yeah,
top table, and it could have just been a result of like kind of just going on opposite ends of the spectrum. Treyst having all the options, because it did feel like towards the end that Teija just wasn't drawing the things that they really wanted to be drawing.
yeah.
I don't think you want to
But
be playing tiny gens like when
yeah, but
you're
that goes
a
back to
slot
what you're
player.
saying, where Trace is seeing like what
Yeah,
3, 4, 5 cards a turn,
yeah,
and Teja is seeing 2, maybe 3 if we're generous, and they have a aloe vera. So obviously the options are going to be more constrained.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, Same thing on the biome. On to go back to the biome thing, I've heard a lot of people say, and I think to a good reason, that biomes are the thing that are the least optimized right now in people's gameplay, and that we have a lot to learn to try and uh, kind of looking at, like, see in advance like what biomes are going to happen and play accordingly. But if
Yeah,
I remember correctly on that game, it really felt to me that the Teja player didn't really have agency here. It was the Trace player who chose where both players would advance. Basically, like, the Trace player had the choice to trade. They could trade either way, like both player advancing on one side or advancing on opposite side, and they chose, perhaps correctly, the biome that put them out of mountain,
yeah,
when they knew that the opponent had at least one tiny gene. It happened that they happened to draw another one, but the first one was face up, and they knew it was going to happen. So maybe, like, the Trace player played well in that game,
yeah,
but it's also like the point is that they had the agency because they were seeing more cards. They were playing second, and like that, they were able to optimize this.
yeah, 100%. It was a very good match regardless. Congratulations to both players for playing well. Super close game. So we're gonna head out here, but before we do, um, you don't like technically have things to promote, but we want to promote the website 39 Cards anyway. So, really fast, if you want to like tell people about it.
Yeah, for sure. So for people who haven't heard about it yet, it's called 39cards.com, and you can find all the results from this Altered Weekly Online League, as well as some other online tournaments, and even some paper tournaments, the major ones. So you have access to all the deck lists that made, in the case of a wall, for 2 and better. For other tournaments, usually top 8 or top 16. And this can be your inspiration either for what to play or what to play against. If you think that you are a really good deck builder and you want to exploit the meta, you can try and find what most people are playing and try to figure out the weaknesses there.
Yeah,
And yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is that I did an interview with Blue that actually went out today. So you can find it on Blue's channel. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the name of the channel is, but maybe you do, Spooks, and for anyone interesting, yeah, you can see the interview that we did there.
yeah, for sure. I believe it's Blue Oak TV. But I'm going to link it in the final match video on YouTube that will come out tomorrow morning if people also want to find it that way. You should just subscribe to Blue
Yeah,
anyway. So
pretty awesome
they
content creator, so for sure,
they do a lot of good
big shout out to them.
tournament videos.
And
Um,
yeah, and shout out to them. They went 4-2 with at Sadi, and they were really happy with it.
yeah,
And I'm really happy with that. Someone see, they agree that they are an awesome person, so it means that it is true.
yeah, somebody did what I asked. They played at Saudi. Thank you, Blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna I'm gonna call the commentary part of the stream here. I'd like to thank Tom for joining me. It was a lot of fun. Always good to have a more competitive player with me so that it goes smoothly. But I hope everyone has a
Yeah.
good night or day or whatever time it is. I hope you're having a good life.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thanks for having me again, and hope to do this sometime again.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely excited to have you on again. We'll see everyone
All right.
next time.
Take care.